What's up, guys? Welcome to Science in 5 Minutes or Less. Today we're going to be talking about acids and bases. You should have already watched the video, and if that still wasn't clear, you can watch this one. Hopefully it helps. Okay, so let's start. What is an acid? What is a base? Well, it's actually pretty easy, all right? What is an acid? An acid is really just something that has a lot of H's. So we just say that's acidic. Okay, so if we're going to say, okay, this thing has a lot of H's, we're just going to call that an acid. I don't know why it does that. All right, and if it has a lot of OH's, we just call that base. Okay, and that's it. A lot of H's is an acid. A lot of OH's, it's called the base. Okay, and what's easy about this is we have something called the pH scale, right? Where if we look at it, at the very bottom, we're going to have the lowest you can have is 0 pH. So that's going to be the most acidic thing is going to be down there. And we have an example, gastric acid. That's just your stomach juice, which is super acidic. And 14 is going to be the most basic. And that's going to be, we already know it's going to have a lot of OHs. And then at 0, which is kind of weird, at 0, we have the most H's. And then at 14, we have the least H's, but the most OH's, okay? And that's an acid and a base. And then kind of a special point to talk about the pH scale is when you get right here, we have what's called water, and that's what we call neutral. So right in the middle, that's where we say something is neutral, okay? And I don't know why it fixes that, but we're moving on, okay? So it's neutral. If we start at an acid which has 0, but we go up, right? Let's say this is the number 1 acid, so gastric acid. It's very acidic. It has a lot of H's. Number 2, it's less good, which means it has less H's. Number 3 would have even less, and so on. As we get to 7, we're neutral. And as we start going up, 8 has a few OH's, and the bigger the number now, the more OH's, the more basic it's going to be. Okay? So again, 14, really, really basic. Acidic, really, really acidic. Low, number 1, or 0 being the actual lowest pH you can have. Okay? In science, right, if we have, let's say I give you sulfuric acid, you guys, most of you have no idea what that is. How do we find out the pH of that? In science, we have these really cool things called litmus paper. They're this yellow paper that you just dip in, let's say this substance, sulfuric acid, and it'll turn any one of these colors. Now, if we're testing sulfuric acid specifically, when you put the yellow paper in, you're going to find out that it turns like this number 2 red. So would that be an acid or would that be a base? Well, we just go to our scale and we see that acids, oh, they're red. So that's around here, number 2. That's going to be an acidic substance. And granted, the name already told us it was going to be acidic, but the color confirms it. Okay? Now, why is this important? Why do you care about acids and bases? Well, they're important because science now, because they have to do with your system, your acidic, your basic, different parts of that. We won't get too much into it because we have to go through this stuff first. On your practice, or something about neutralization, and that's just really easy, right? All you have to know about neutralization is water is neutral. The more water you have, the more neutral you are. Let's say you drop this on yourself. Now you're screaming. It's in your eyes. It's going to burn. It's super acidic, right? And then you go to the water station, and then you get some alleviation. Why does that happen? Well, that happens because let's take something really acidic like battery acid. Let's say you get that on your skin. Let's test the acidity at the pH of 1. That's really acidic. Whenever you flush it with water, look what happens to the pH. It turns less and less acidic. It starts going up. And as water from the shower drains, right, more water comes in. And now the more water you keep putting on it, the higher the pH goes until eventually it will get to neutral. And that's what we call neutralization. So if you ever get acid on you, water it, put a lot of water in, and it'll eventually neutralize with a pH of 7, and it will stop burning your skin. And that is it for this video. Hopefully you learned a lot.